Modern on the outside, rotten within. 3 villages within the city expose a dark truth. The people go hungry and thirsty while officials look away. They call it an urban miracle. They flaunt gleaming boulevards, glass skyscrapers, dazzling malls. But right beneath those towers, millions live in vast slums politely labeled villages within the city. Chongzhongkun. There, hunger and thirst, mildew and darkness, short circuits and fires are everyday facts. There, the poor are forced to fend for themselves, while the authorities stand aside, snatching benefits and using the word renovation to clear land for real estate. Guangzhou. The southern gateway shows off its wealth, yet hides a sea of people locked in the dark. Can you imagine it in the middle of one of China's wealthiest cities? Guangzhou, there exists a sea of people living in areas with no property rights, no property management, no planning, where even fire trucks cannot get in. This is not some remote backwater. This is the Southern Gateway, a trading hub since the Han Dynasty, boasting a GDP above 3 trillion yuan and styling itself the economic engine of South China. Outside, towers packed shoulder to shoulder, layered transport systems, lights that never go out. Inside, villages within the city where even GPS loses its way. There, a 10-square-meter room can cram in 4 people. Alleys fit only 1 motorbike. Electrical wires coil like spider webs. The gap between 2 buildings is less than 1 meter and becomes the only source of light. You think this is a minority? Wrong. In Guangzhou alone, there are around 300 such zones, packing in roughly 5 million people. Across China, more than 100 million residents live like this. But people don't call them slums. They only change the name. The essence stays the same. The origin of a gray tumor, 2 invisible walls. To understand why these islands of poverty sprout in the midst of cities, we must go back to 1958. 2 policies that seemed unrelated, but split the destiny of hundreds of millions. The first wall, the household registration, hukou, not a mere registration slip, but a system that grades people into agricultural and non-agricultural. Put simply, the countryside is a slow train that stops at every station, often without tickets to board. The city is a high-speed train with absolute priority. Education, healthcare, social security. Decades after reform, the high-speed train still serves city folk. Rural people stand on the platform and watch. The second wall, the dual land system. Urban land is state-owned, rural land is collectively owned. Homestead plots, the land for rural homes, carry long-term use rights but are banned from being transferred to urban residents. As cities sprawl outward, touching homesteads means bumping into hukou. Expropriation would push entire villages into urban hukou, which would dump welfare responsibilities onto the government, and they don't want to bear them. Result, the urban flood skirts around homesteads like islands of rock, leaving islands suspended inside the city. Chongzhongchun, a warped symbiosis machine, cheap labor, hidden landlords, and officials at the wheel. Take Kanglu Zheng's Guangzhou's garment kingdom as an example. Fuel, young people from Hubei, Hunan, Sichuan, burning their youth in rooms of a few square meters. 12, 14 hours of work, factory by day, bed by night. No contracts, no protection. Fabric dust coats their lungs, tangled wires hang over their heads. Fire can erupt at any time. Refueling station, local landlords, not producing, only slicing apartments like tofu to rent out. Rent flows like a stream, spawning a class of underground millionaires. Driver, the local government. GDP up, garment exports humming, reports looking great. Fire hazards and labor violations? Close one eye for now. Inspections turn into a culture of fines, even give and take. Gray protection takes root. The machine runs until orders leave. As supply chains restructure, labor-intensive production shifts to Southeast Asia and India. The machine misfires, the engine breaks, and villages within the city slide straight down to their true name: slums. The story of Old Yan in Guangzhou is typical. 25 years of grinding. At times, the workshop ran nearly year-round. Husband and wife slept on a sofa. Then, overnight, orders were cut in half. Last month's 1.6 million yuan in revenue fell to 800,000. He sold his small car to keep cash flowing. He learned to do TikTok, hoping for scattered online orders. And he isn't alone. Across Guangzhou, workshops are gasping, workers idle, and the micro players snap first. The welfare of the nameless. Hunger, thirst, fend for yourself. In Guangzhou, they call this a non-formal residential area, which sounds fancy. In reality, standing water, rusty pipes, sewers clogged with trash. Children without hukou are shut out of the public system, studying in makeshift schools and losing at the starting line. Adults bear illness alone. Their money goes to moldy rent and cheap boxed meals. When fires happen, the cold statistics read, over 4,000 incidents, 20,09201. For at least 60 dead. In recent years, more deaths have come on nights of electrical shorts, among aging cables, all wrapped in a mocking line, isolated accidents. And renovation? They dress it up as urban renewal, but no one answers the core question. Where will the 70,000 households dispersed from Guangzhou go? Cheap places are gone, jobs have dried up, the poor are pushed to the outer ring. How do they live? No one cares. So long as the center is scrubbed clean of slums, to price the land. Beijing, Dehumanizing, the capital flaunts itself while blood and sweat run underground. Dehumanizing in Fengtai, nearly 10 square kilometers once blossomed with garment subcontractors. Migrant labor poured in like a flood, 10 square meter rooms crammed with 4 people. Factory and dwelling mixed, trash, sewage, rats, and roaches without end. At night, alleys fill with silhouettes, dim phone lights, overloaded sockets. Come morning, heads bend to the assembly lines. Police have knocked before dawn. Those without temporary residence permits are hauled to the station. Only a fine can buy back their freedom. The Sun Jigong incident in Guangzhou once shocked the country, but how many nameless tragedies like that have gone unrecorded? Migrants read the message clearly. Don't ask for anything. Work hungry. If you get sick, it's on you. The hukou is a wall of stone. Renovation in Beijing also follows procedure. Drip feed compensation and push tens of thousands away from the only place they can cling to. A few months later, the money's gone. Hunger and thirst return. Yet the banners on the boulevards still blaze. Happy city. Shenzhen? Guangzhou. A GDP paradise. A hell for the living. Shenzhen brags about its miracle. But Guangzhou once pressed more than 200,000 people into less than 0.6 of a square kilometer. A record density. Handshake buildings, stick out your hand and you can touch your neighbor's window. Sunlight can't get in, wind can't pass through. Mold blankets the walls. Mold bristle like thorns. Manholes overflow. Clean water is on again, off again. The poor here lack more than money. They lack oxygen for hope. Their children without hukou linger in makeshift private schools. Adults grind 12-14 hours in small workshops, wages so low that a single fever can knock the whole family into ruin. Hungry? They buy instant noodles. Thirsty? They ration cloudy tap water. At night they swallow their coughs as lint coats their lungs. When Reconstruction began, people thought light had finally arrived. Wrong. It was groundbreaking for speculators. Local landholders could still salvage something, renters. By far the majority were shut out of negotiations. They lost their homes, their jobs, and their ability to live in the very city their hands built. Guangzhou, Xian Village, a diamond location, a trash heap life, and a chain of corruption. Xian Village lies right next to Guangzhou's CBD, where glass towers dazzle the eye. Inside the village, density at times of 100,000 people per square kilometer, many times that of Hong Kong. Self-built houses stacked upon one another, wet alleys, sewage sloshing, swollen garbage, sagging wires. One spark and a whole row goes up. And it has, repeatedly. A heavier blow is corruption. Village and district cadres, even leaders at the city level, were exposed for gorging on reconstruction of Xian village. Money flowed to familiar pockets, compensation trickled, residents were swept away like refuse. After 15 years, more than 1,900 houses were leveled. Perhaps the air is cleaner, but whose stomach is full? Which schools will take children without hukou? Which hospital beds for those without insurance? When development is a mask, lessons written in blood and tears. They are adept at shell games with words. A slum becomes a non-formal residential area. Forced relocation is population dispersion. Sweeping the poor out of the center is urban upgrading. And when asked, where will the 70,000 displaced households live, they cite models. Let's reference Rio and Mexico City. In reality, Rio brought in police and infrastructure, then pushed rents up to expel the poor. Mexico City severed informal livelihoods, turning the poor into the poorer. Everyone knows these lessons, but the glossy renderings keep coming. What they never invest in enough is people. Basic health care, real education, minimum housing, safe water and electricity. Instead, we get banners, ribbon cuttings, and 3D master plans. Meanwhile, in those 10-square-meter rooms, a family of 4 still shares one fan. Hungry, they split half a packet of noodles. Thirsty, they boil yellowed tap water again. Fend for yourselves. What's shattered is more than concrete. The fallout spans an entire generation. Children grow up amid mildew and the rattle of sewing machines. No skills, no networks, locked out of the social ladder from the start. Young adults carry occupational disease, dust-laden lungs, bent spines, with medical bills bigger than a month's pay. Older adults slide into a debt loop. Rent, utilities, phone data to look for work, everything stacks up like bricks in a wall. Women bear a double burden, long hours of wage labor and childbirth, child-rearing under conditions with no medical care, no recovery, no protective network. Villages within the city once served as springboards for the poor to scramble upward. Now, as orders vanish, rents leap, and administrative controls tighten, the springboard has become shackles. Back home doesn't welcome them either. Land is consolidated, jobs scarce. They are stuck between 2 dark zones. Beijing, memories of a night of fire and a winter of expulsions. One November, Daxing burned 19 lives. The rulers used that very fire to drive low-end populations out of the city on winter nights. Tarps replaced ceilings, streets replaced beds. Public safety became a pretext to push the poor out of the housing market. If they're hungry, so be it. If they're thirsty, figure it out. As long as the main roads are clean enough for the military parade. Renovation by law, and the question no one wants to answer. In recent years, Guangzhou has rolled out regulations for renovating villages within the city, legalizing coercive measures. Signature rates rise, spreadsheets look better. But who tracks the real lives of the displaced? Resettlement apartments are for those with household books, renters, the vast majority, drift. From one dark alley to another, from an inner ring slum to an outer ring slum. Poverty doesn't disappear, it's only pushed beyond the eyesight of the rich. Shenzhen, the mega project in a mega void. In Baishizhou, the trillion yuan mega project is called a renovation aircraft carrier. The renderings are splendid. Parks, schools, metro lines, malls. And real people? Some 28,700 left within just a few months in a certain year, in a hurry, confused. Those without hukou have no voice in the contracts. Rents in the new areas are pushed higher. Distances stretch longer. A new city rises over the empty space left in the poor's stomachs. Closing the books, the miracle on display, the tragedy concealed. Dahongmen by Shizhou, Xian Village. 3 names, one common denominator, the gap between the outer shell and the inner flesh. Outside is a modern capital, a financial center, an international gateway. Inside are people living like ghosts. Hungry, thirsty, numb, trampled by a system of identification, classification, exclusion. When renovation becomes code for dispossession, when GDP becomes a curtain, when hukou becomes a shackle, villages within the city are no longer mere cracks. They are open wounds across the urban body. And while the LED boards downtown tally growth figures, in the shadows, a family of 4 still splits half a packet of noodles, fires up an old kettle to boil yellowish water, and leaves a dim bulb on through the night to keep rats away. Tomorrow morning they will rise for another 12-hour shift, with no insurance, no contract, no future. They have heard this line far too many times. Fend for yourselves.